Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Neo4j series. In the previous video, we learned how to connect Python with Neo4j. We did some kind of a crude operations, work with session and transactions, and handle query results and records. So in this video, we are going to focus on an important topic for real-world application, which is error handling in Neo4j using Python. So what are the exceptional handling mechanism which is being supported by the Neo4j Python driver? So we will specifically look at the authentication error, connection error, Neo4j specific error, and some unexpected Python errors. So now I will go through the code, and it's very simple. So what we are going to do here is like as usual, we are going to import. So we are importing the graph database from Neo4j. And then if you look at this part of the code, so here we have written from neo4j.exceptions import auth error, service unavailable, and neo4j error. So these exceptions allow us, we are directly importing this error from the import statements. So what happens is like these exceptions allows us to handle different types of problems in a separate manner. So auth error, as the name suggests, is used when authentication fails, when you are given a wrong username or wrong password, so then the author comes into the picture. Then we have service unavailable. The service unavailable comes into picture when the Neo4j server cannot be reached. Neo4j error is a more general Neo4j specific error. And finally, we have the Python's generic exception. So now we are going to look into the create person. So this create person is a simple uh, method. So if you look at here, we have the query. So here we are creating a person. We are using parameters rather than directly inserting the values into the cipher query. So you can see here $name, $age, uh, and p dot name as name. Okay. So this function returns a single Neo4j record. You can see a single this part. Single method is being used. Uh, the main the main difference today is that how we handle situations when something goes wrong. So after creating this create person, so next we are going to look into the most important function, which is the safe run query. This function is created to tell you how we are how we are using the different exceptions in handling the different exceptions, and how we are implementing them in Python. So this method safe run query, if you look at here, safe run query, its purpose is to execute a cipher query safely and handle possible errors. So what we did here is like if you go step by step, so the whole method is started with the try and except block. Okay, so in the try block, what we are doing here is we have this with driver dot session, a database is equal to database as session. So we create a session using this line, then we execute it, and we store the output in the result variable. So you can look at the code result is equal to session dot run, and then query, and then parameters, and then we convert the results into a list of records. So, but everything here is wrapped inside a try block. If you look at here, it's inside the try block. This allows us to handle exceptions without crashing the entire application. Now, in the next part is we have defined the exceptions. So here, basically, first we are what we are trying to do is we are handling the authentication error. Okay, so you see here except auth error. So this handles the authentication problem. For example, if the username or password is incorrect, we can display that. Then we have the authentication failed. Then we can check username and password. We can provide that kind of message. See here, this is the kind of message which we are providing. But this is much more useful to the users than simply showing a Python traceback, because Python traceback can be very much complicated and not in a readable format. So here, with the help of this, we can present our errors in a much more readable format. Now, next one is the handling connection problems. So for handling connection problems, we are using this service unavailable. So this handles situations where Neo4j isn't it reachable. So if you see, except service unavailable. So for example, this type of exception is defined when we have the Neo4j desktop. It is not running. The database isn't started. The server is unavailable. The connection cannot be established. So all these kind of problems, for handling these kind of problems, we are using service unavailable. We can provide a meaningful message like Neo4j service is unavailable. Check if desktop DB is running. That's what we have provided here. So this is particularly useful during development to define the exceptions and also a particular kind of exceptions. depending upon we know what can happen. Now, the next thing is like accept Neo4j error as error. So here, this catches Neo4j specific errors that aren't covered by the previous exceptions. So we print the actual error. What is the actual error which is coming from Neo4j? So this gives us information that can help diagnose the problem in a much more detailed way. And we also get the information that this is coming from the Neo4j. So it can be anything. Okay, so now finally we have the exception as E. So everybody is familiar with this part. So this catches the unexpected Python errors. For example, there could be a programming error or another issue that isn't it specifically related to Neo4j. So we print the unexpected error, and then the function errors returns the return statement. So instead of allowing the application to crash, we return an empty list here in this scenario. So now what we are going to do, we are going to look into the main function. So in the main function, if you look at the first part, this is also here. We have defined the try inside the try, most of the things inside the try and except block. Okay. So now the important thing here is like first what we are doing here inside the try, we are trying to we are trying to verify the connectivity. So we are using the driver dot verify connectivity. So if credentials are valid, we will get the connection successful. But if it is not valid here, okay, so then here the code will go here in this part, except auth error and could not connect and invalid credentials. Okay, so and then we have also we have the sessions. Okay, so we have created this session here for creating the person because we are creating a node here, and and then here what we are doing here is we have also provided the except service unavailable. So if we like if could not connect to the session or Neo4j server is not available or something unreachable is happening, like something you have given a wrong browser location, wrong server location where your Neo4j browser is. So in that kind of scenarios, we have this service unavailable error which comes into the picture. And then we have the exception, which is the kind of an exception error which we handle in Python. So so now what why the question here is like why we have why separate connection and query errors. So if you look at here, okay, so we have defined the errors here inside the save run query method, and then also we have defined the exceptions inside this. Okay, so the question here is like why we have why there is a uh, uh, separate connection and query errors. Okay, so this distinction is important because suppose, let's say Neo4j itself is not running. So that's a connection problem. Okay. But suppose if the Neo4j is running and our Cypher query contains an error. So that's a query database problems. So for different situations, so handling them separately makes our application easier to troubleshoot. Okay. So the first step is like whenever we are, first important step is to get the connectivity. Okay, so there we will put an exception. That's what we have done here. We have provided this auth exception here, could not connect, invalid credentials. Okay, and once let's say if our credentials are correct, if our connectivity is correct, everything is correct. Okay, so then maybe we get some kind of different error. The query is not correct, the query syntax is not correct. So or we can have some kind of a Neo4j error. So that will comes that type of error comes afterwards, not before. Okay, so first we check for the connection, then we check for the any kind of an operational Neo4j operational errors. So yeah, so so this is all about this code. So now what I will do is like I'll try to run this code. This is a very simple video about how we can handle. Many people here in this video are from development background, so they might be knowing how to handle that. So let me run this one, and you see we get could not connect invalid credentials. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the correct connection password. So my password was let me put this password and control S save. Now I think I will not get any error. It will run correctly. Okay, see the code has run correctly because now the connection, the password has been changed. So when the password was not correct, so we get that first connected connection error. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this port. Okay, so I'm going to make it as let's say one. Okay, it was okay. It was 7 to 6. Let me make it at 6. It's easy to remember. I saved the file and now I'm going to run this particular code. So let's see what kind of error it throws. Anybody can pause the video and guess. So what we are getting here is like we could not connect. Neo4j server is not reachable. So we get this kind of error. Neo4j server is not reachable. So so this is how we get the error from the this part from the service unavailable because we have provided the wrong URI. So this way you can play around with the code and you can check uh, what kind of error is thrown in different scenarios. So basically, in this video, we learned how to make Neo4j Python application more robust using exception handling. We covered auth error, service unavailable, Neo4j error, generic exception, connection level error handling, query level error handling, returning safe results when a query fails. Okay, so basically the key idea is don't just write code that works, write code that can also handle when things go wrong. So this is all about this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.